Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you.
Let's do it. I don't know what you got in store.
Well, see, I already hit record. You don't even know what I got in store, but we're here. Midweek pod, Nicholas Allen, Bo Robert Ruud. We're back. Today's pod is brought to you by Pella. Go to the showrooms in Lincoln and Omaha. Go check them out. Or you can go to PellaOmaha.com. Big shouts out. Got to look at my man Vince and everybody. We just furthered our relationship for more years to come. I love everybody at Pella. Thanks for the support. These dudes have been like day one supporters. So thanks to them. So, yes, cheers to them. We will open this in a second. Yeah, we got the Pella. We got all that stuff going. Shouts out to Pella. And today's pod is also brought to you by Shoot 360, the world's most advanced basketball training facility. Shoot 360 is coming to Lincoln. You see it on the shirt. Yours truly and Alex Bahe, my older brother, we're going to be owning that bad boy. Target grand opening October 14th. Again, what sets Shoot 360 apart from other basketball training experiences? We use the same technology that 26 NBA facilities use to provide you objective and real-time feedback after every rep you take inside of our facility. So whether you're a fourth grade rookie or a college MVP, our patented and proprietary technology will get you better faster. If you want to train like a pro, become a member at Shoot 360 Lincoln. Bo, basketball is a game of skill, is it not?
Yes.
And we specialize in those skills of ball handling, passing, and shooting. And the only way to become confident in those areas is reps, right?
Yep.
And Shoot 360 gives you more reps. I think the average practice, you get 32 shots up in a 1 hour practice. In a game, you get 9 shots up. You can get 300 shots up in a 30-minute workout.
And that's the standard window?
That's the 30 window. It's 30-minute window. That's what's it's fantastic.
Manageable for families.
It's extremely manageable. So
fit in that busy schedule.
Shoot360.com/Lincoln. Fill out the I'm interested form. Okay. We're back, baby. There's a lot to talk about here. Are you feeling it?
We are back for the twice a week.
Yes.
The twice a week fall sessions. This is what we love.
This is it.
You know, we love doing it, and this is the time of year where we need 2 times a week to really digest it all.
And you know, this pod's always fun because you do the midweek pod, you kind of do a little look back at the weekend because there's always some like leftover thoughts or some stuff as the days go on from that game that just unfolded that I know I've thought about over the last couple of days. And now we got a whale of a game coming up on Saturday, which, by the way, so game kicks off at 11. My daughter has a soccer game at 11.
It's too bad you're going to miss that game now.
And I'm the coach. So,
you're saying you're going to.
I'm going to go coach. I'm going to record the game, but my whole thing is I really, really want to try to avoid any spoilers of score because that alters how you watch the game, right?
Yes.
Like if dude, Nebraska's up 21-0. That first maybe there's a big decision on 4th down at midfield or something like that you assume like, well, if they're going for it, they must have got it. But if you don't know that, you maybe assess that decision.
Okay, because you're going to get back in time to watch. Like it's not going to be done. It's going to be it's an hour probably start to finish those games.
Yes.
Max. So you're home in an hour.
I'll be home.
You're home in half.
Yes.
You're home in half.
So it's not horrible.
Yeah.
But my main concern, I might get a shirt made that says like, do not tell me the score.
Oh, you know how I feel about it.
But because I do think like it's important, for example, like we talked a lot about, as everybody has, we talked a lot about the decision to throw the ball 3 times in the 4th quarter when Nebraska's up 10-3. I'm a big, how did you feel in the moment? Kind of like, and if you know the outcome, it maybe alters how you feel about it in the moment. You know what I mean?
Let's look at this. You're going to be at a sporting event, sporting parents.
I know.
The chance that one of those parents on the sideline isn't either pumping their fists or slapping their leg because they're pissed off, right? So you're going to be able to so you almost have to put the blinders on, like don't even look around. You just have to just watch the game. Like put your head down.
I'm gonna have to like just stiff arm people, but they're
gonna want to talk to you.
I know this kind of happened last year during the Oklahoma game, where I think the game got to watch like the first quarter, then had to go to the soccer game, and I was getting updates that it had gotten out of hand or whatever. But so that's a little bit about what's going on Saturday for me. This game, I have so many thoughts on this game. I can't wait to talk to you about this. But before we get started, grab your headphones there, big dog. Oh my goodness. All right, I am so this is what we're gonna do here. I'm very excited about this. So how I want to kind of set this up is, so it's Nebraska Colorado week. Okay. We have both had some pretty cool encounters and highlights with Joel Klatt. Yours very much different than mine, but I want to set up your first encounter with one Joel Klatt, because that's what's crazy. Like you went. Did you go against him twice?
I think so. Yep.
So this is late November 2005. It was, I think, late third quarter. And you make one heck of a play here on Joel Klatt. Let's listen.
Nebraska showing man coverage on 3rd down and 5.5. Huskers again stunning at the line of scrimmage. Here goes Bo Ruud. He draws a fumble. It's on the turf. They chase after it between the 40 and 45. I think the Buffalo's got it. Bo Ruud came in there like a missile. He just went right past the center of the guard. Or 3 to.
So you talk us through that play. Because it is unbelievable how well you timed it up clearly.
Yeah, that was the one, maybe the best timed up blitz of my life, where I just, you kind of get a feel for the snap count, and they gave us the call for the blitz, and I was like, I just hit it on the run. Like it was one of those where you're crossing the center as he's just, barely moving the ball. Right. You just got the countdown so good. So, so I squeezed by, and I think I knocked it out. But no, it's crazy because you sent that to the guys today, and I hadn't seen that play forever, and I was just like, oh my!
It's got to be cool to see that play again. I mean, it's amazing because I've seen the angle I sent you is behind Klatt, behind the quarterback. If you watch it from the wide game angle, the call is messed up. I think Tarico's on the call. He doesn't have your name, and I was like, oh come on, Tarico, but he was excited about it. But like is in those spots, are you just like, I'm either going to get the worst offsides in the world, or you're just like, I'm going for it here?
Yeah, it's I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but yeah, basically like you're either looking like ridiculous because but you also I think it's a feel thing where you're just like, they're not going on 2. You just kind of know they're not,
because it was 3rd and 5, and I mean what's cool about it, I mean you can see you don't creep up. It's one of those things like you kind of showed blitz and then went. You don't creep up until you're like coming full sprint.
Oh yeah.
And you are on Klatt immediately.
I mean, it was almost one of those, like if he would have handed it off, I would have taken the handoff.
And that's where we got this. This is the game ball, 30-3. So November 25th, 2005, you guys went there, and just Todd Peterson had played well defensively. You guys really just shut down Colorado. Here was your stat line in that game. So you got the game ball.
Yeah.
You had 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble. So you were disruptive that whole game.
You know what? I think we actually talked about this game randomly, maybe earlier this year on one of our pods, just because we were talking about Colorado and the rivalry. And this was the game, though, that I mentioned at the time, where it was a big game. We had the Restore the Order shirts. We were so geared up for this, and their fan base by that point, by probably a little bit after that moment, by the end of the 3rd quarter, just started throwing things and were just ridiculous. And they got booted out of the game. They stopped the game, and for 30 minutes.
The whole student
and
section.
they told the whole student section to get out.
That's nuts.
And so it was probably the best moment and the best game of the Callahan era, in my opinion. I'll take that back. The Michigan game,
in the Alamo Bowl
is probably that moment. But I would say that was the moment where I think everybody on that team started thinking, oh, we could win championships. Like we were starting to turn the tide of, this is the Callahan era. We don't know what's going on to, this is something's starting to happen here.
Right. And then you guys go on in 06 and
we won the North in 06. We lose in the Big 12 championship game to Oklahoma. But like that was the turning point to me. I always felt like that game in 05, against Colorado. We flipped the script. We did restore the order, and then we beat Michigan in the Alamo Bowl.
Right.
And I think that was the first time in my career where I was like, this team, like this program's ready to do something. And it started with that game.
That's cool. And you got the freaking game ball for it. But I don't think I've ever heard you say that. You thought that was like there were that, because there's something real to that. You can kind of feel those turning point things are real.
Yeah. It was because that would have been the last game of the year.
Yep.
And then we played in the Alamo Bowl. So, and I broke my arm in the time in between then. So I didn't get to play in
That's too bad. Yeah. But so, and the reason we bring up Klatt, I mean, obviously the Colorado game, but then obviously there's so many, then Klatt will be on the call this weekend with Gus.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a biased call. I mean, I like Klatt, but yeah, I mean, this is like, we need to send you out there to just sit by him.
Just to balance it out. Yeah. But yeah, it was cool to watch some of those highlights. And then, so I was thinking about your encounter with Joel Klatt. Have you ever heard my encounter with Joel Klatt?
Well, I mean, I know you know him from broadcasting, but no.
Okay, so this was during Game Time with Nick Bahe. This was my radio show on 1620 The Zone. This was 2000. Would it have been? Was the game day? So he would have been coming. He was coming to call a Nebraska game. I can't remember the game now, but he was coming to call a Nebraska game. And he was going to be on the call on Big Fox. So I reached out and got him to come on my radio show. And this was how I signed off with Klatt, thanking him on the show. And this is one of the biggest fumble. I can't believe you've never heard this before.
I know. I bet you I have.
Because it's become a Schick and Nick like.
Let me hear this.
Yeah, so this is me and Klatt back in the day on radio, me saying goodbye to him. Let me try and set this up here for us. Okay, get ready for this. This is terrible.
Joel Klatt, FS1. Joel, from my vantage point, you're as good as it gets in the college football world. We appreciate your time. I know you're super busy. Have a great call tomorrow night, and stay safe. Stay safe in Lincoln as a Buffalo.
I love it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. And Nick, you do a great job as well, my friend.
I appreciate that, Joel. Thanks, man.
Oh God, that's bad.
How bad? I mean,
there's nothing worse than when you're trying to be professional.
Stay safe in Lincoln as a Buffalo.
Oh God!
And stay safe. Stay
safe. I thought. I had a great. I wrote it out. I was like, "This is how I'm going to get him out." Joel Klatt. I was going to butter him up, because I do think Joel's awesome, and then talk about, hey, I still can't say, stay safe in Lincoln as a Buffalo, right? I mean, and I got caught.
It's so bad.
The best part about it is that a Lil works his way in there. Listen to this.
And stay safe. Stay safe in Lincoln as a Buffalo.
I love it. I appreciate it.
And I love that Klatt says, I love it. Like, I didn't just vomit words all over the place.
I mean, that was one of those moments where it was so bad you started just like trailing off. Like,
you know what I'm saying? I could not say. I still can't do it. Stay safe.
What is it like if you were just talking to somebody in person? That doesn't happen. But like you're trying to do it on air, yes. And then every once in a while the word monster just bites your tongue, and you're like, oh,
and I could not speak. Could not speak at all. So I say that to then say this. We can take off the headphones for this. I got a little something for us here.
What the heck does this guy got?
The folks at Corn Coast Brewing Company are such huge fans of my misspeak.
Whoa!
They have made a beer in honor of my terrible moment as a broadcaster. This is a Say Safe, as you can see for the YouTube audience here. I went to Corn Coast today and bought it. It's a let me read. This is 9.2% alcohol.
Wow.
Yeah. So brace yourself. You're going to be talking like me by the end of this thing. It's an Imperial IPA. By the way, what should I have done? So let's crack one of these.
You will say safe.
Yes.
You will say
safe.
So
here we go. Cheers to our Joel Klatt encounters, and we got a beer out of it. So
heck yeah.
Oh yeah. See, I like IPAs. Are you? That's good, but we got to be careful. That's very good.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
What did I do the right thing? Checking out. So I go into Corn Coast, and they've reached out to me before. They're big fans, and they end up making a Say Stave. And so I go in there and I buy a little 4-pack, and I'm checking out. And I went in there being like, okay, they might recognize me, they might not. I go in there, I go to check out. The guy doesn't recognize me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like,
this is my beer.
This is I'm that guy that said Say Stave, So I just bought it and left. Right move, right?
That's right move. Yeah.
You can't, there's no cool way to be like,
I said that. I said it. Somebody that's like, okay.
I could tell. I kind of went over there. I felt a little bit like, like, what do you think? And this guy had no clue who I was.
You leave and you come back in like, it's a pretty good beer.
Come on. Say Stave.
So, this isn't like a one-time make for you. This is like it is
like I'm looking at their menu. Like it is on their menu. They sell it.
How did I not know this?
Yeah. Well, they just came out with it. Like they were, because they maybe had another stupid Schick and Nick drop. By the way, listen to the Schick and Nick show too. It's a great show as well. Matt Schick, he's a buff though, so we need to get that guy out of here.
Golly, yeah.
But yeah, I mean this is pretty cool.
That's great. I mean, that's absolutely fantastic.
So we're gonna drink.
Stave.
We're gonna drink our Say Staves.
You're gonna be saying
Say 9. What's a normal 4?
4.
Holy
4
crap.
to 5 is like a Bud Heavy's like a 5.
So we're gonna be feeling it. Like I got a 4-pack. We ain't breaking out those other 2, are we?
We'll be saying Stave.
Yeah, that's not gonna be good at all. Okay, I thought that was a good way to kind of get into things.
Yes.
Here. Okay. I feel like I don't know if I need to apologize to start to Matt Rhule. Matt, if you're listening, I feel like over the weekend and in reflecting in our conversation on the game recap for Nebraska losing to Minnesota 13-10, I felt like maybe this is just mentally, I didn't necessarily verbally, I felt like I was a little unfair to Rhule after that game. And what I'm getting at is like, I think I punished him for losing close because Scott Frost lost close for 5 years.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think maybe that's like, if you were to say, this is Matt Rhule's first game, you don't know Scott Frost, you didn't know that era, you're not as mad about that loss. Right. I think it just, people were, in general, were very upset that it was the same kind of loss and we felt like we didn't make any progress or something.
And so... But I think what's hard as I'm apologizing, because sometimes people will apologize, but then they'll be like, but you got to understand. Yeah. And then they'll justify why they did. It's hard. And I imagine I speak for a lot of Husker fans out there. I don't know if it's hard to not carry the past with you to a new situation. And I remember talking about this in the summer when he went on ruling on Busting with the Boys with Will Compton, and he talked about how he doesn't want this to be a slow burn and how this it doesn't need to be year 1. This can be more like year 2 or 3 for them. And this is year 1 for Rhule, but it's kind of like year 10 or 15 or 20 for Husker fans.
Yeah, it's I'd say since the Riley era started in 2016.
Right.
I mean, I'd say it's a full 8 years of really just
really struggling.
Yeah.
It feels like ever since, because even after the 70-31 Big 12, Big 10 championship, Nebraska still was winning. And I know it was,
you're in the Big 12 championship. That's why it's,
and you were still winning games, but it seems like Riley comes, and ever since the BYU Hail Mary, it just has gone the wrong direction the whole time. Outside of the start of 2016 went well.
Yeah.
But so you had a 6-game stretch over the course of 8 years where things went okay. And so it's hard to not carry that with you, because I felt like I had a chat with someone after the game. I'm not going to name names who I was talking to, but I was talking to them, and they're like, because we kind of got into it over over the game, and he was like, "This is so. If I'm Rhule, I just go to the team, and it's like, guys, if Anthony Grant doesn't fumble, we don't jump off sides, we don't false start, at the goal line, and do like would have won." And I'm like, okay, we've been playing those greatest hits for 8 years in a row, really 5 years in a row. And I know for me, I'm surprised at how fatigued I am with wanting to continue to play that game. I don't know how you felt about that.
I think it's easier to play it when you don't see it for 5 straight years. We saw it for 5 straight years. I think once it goes on that long, then it's not the one or two things. It's literally like, we got a problem.
Yes.
We are the problem, and we need to fix us.
Right. And so I don't know. This was a very interesting psychological weekend, and not only for me, but just observing everybody and how they reacted to the game. And I was surprised at the lack of patience I had for how that game unfolded. But I think there were a lot of people that felt this way. And I just didn't have the appetite to do the whole, well, if this happened and this happened and this happened, then they would have won the game.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know.
It's that's the part that's maybe not fair to Matt Rhule, is like, I don't feel as bad about the program as maybe as you could right now. Like, to me, it's like, if you do just view it for like, let's look at us. What are we with the talent we have? Like, we didn't look bad.
No.
That's the part I go, okay, I know what a bad team looks like. We didn't look bad. We didn't look great. We looked like there was a few positions that we're not strong in, but overall our team seemed to play pretty good football. And I think that's a positive. I do. I don't think it's a total negative we lost that game. Nobody expected us to win that game, and we were pretty much in total control in the fourth quarter. So like, that is in itself, for Matt Rhule, a good sign. Is it like his teams don't need 3 years to go from this rebuild? Like, we're roughly there. So he sort of took for where Frost left off, where we thought there had been progress, but we couldn't get wins.
Right.
And at least he's still in that framework where we're not looking like, man, these teams are just kicking our butts. Right?
No.
And so I think you asked me the last pod, would you rather get beat by 70 than keep losing? I go, always keep losing close games, because it sucks. It hurts more, but it means you're competitive, right? When you're getting blown out, that's a whole nother level of like despair. So we don't want to get blown out.
No,
we don't need that to be our bottom. Our bottom can be this like close game losses, but then eventually, like, when the tide turns, it's going to feel really good.
I just was hoping when I brought up that I think I called him Terry Tallboy at the end of the bar or whatever, that had the question of, would you rather have gotten blown out in that game? And when I say blown out, I certainly don't think I would have preferred them to lose 63-6 or something like that. But I just wanted to see them get to a close 1-score situation and then get over the hump, and just the damage of that to the psyche of everybody. But you're right, though. Like, I mean, the good from the other night, the rush defense, they held Minnesota at 55 yards rushing.
Yeah.
The defense in general, they held Minnesota to 13 points, and the last 7 came on an all-world catch with 2 minutes or whatever left in the game.
Yeah, and everybody said there wasn't offsides. There was a false start that they missed,
and I still think Gabe Ervin was in at the end of the first half.
It was close.
I think he was in, but nevertheless, like, the defense held Minnesota to 13 points, 251 total yards, shut down a team that wants to run. We were curious what's the 3-3-5 going to look like against a team that wants to run, that's big. Well, pretty darn good. And then also, I thought that was as good. I thought the physicality and the tackling was good for a first game.
Yeah, our DBs, like, these are new guys. Singleton, Omar Brown, those guys are brand new, and they look pretty good. Hartzog and Newsome, we know what they are. The linebackers, we know what they are. But like, everybody looked pretty good, and that's the part I go, I go, this is not so bad. Like, we're not looking terrible. We're just, we lost a close game. It's like, it's okay.
Right. Because if you would have, what is disingenuous or hypocritical, I should say, is like, you picked Minnesota to win. I picked Minnesota to win. I don't think very many people thought Nebraska was going to win this game. It is hard, it would have been much better to have a MAC team coming to town at home than it is. You go on the road, Big Ten opponent, established Big Ten team, and you basically have the game won with 3 or 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah.
You would have think you've been pretty pleased, but it's just the way how it was a lot of the same stuff. And then what's hard, and I don't know if you got to watch it because you were out doing stuff because it was your birthday and with your family, but watching that Colorado game, it was to watch Colorado go out and do what they did. It does rub it in. Rubs it in because we tell ourselves, listen to us, we tell ourselves that, hey, it's going to take a while to get this thing going. It's going to take a while. And you're kind of like, does it? Like, does it need to take a while? And I don't want to crown Colorado yet. Like, they've won 1 game. And I thought TCU's in-space second-level tackling was terrible.
Yeah.
But I guess in 2023, in the transfer portal NIL era, maybe it doesn't have to take 3 to 5 years to get it.
Well, no, and I think here's where Deion maybe like, and it's funny. Everybody kind of. I remember episode like this we did our prediction shows, and you said, "Hey, the tide sort of turned on how people feel about Colorado." And and I remember being like,
"Yeah, you were always very like,
I was like, really? Like, I still think." To me, and this is what I'm seeing is like, I don't know how great Colorado is, but Colorado has a couple of really good players.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes all you need are a couple of really good players to make big, big differences. Like, they're not going to win every game for you, but they might win a game for you.
Yeah.
Like, just flat out, like, this game, they can win, and it can be against a good team if you got some real dudes. And they got a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver.
And a defensive back because he plays both ways.
Yeah. Which is like, that basically gives you like 4 really good players.
Right.
And I think that might be all it is. Like, I mean, they got a few. I watched the highlights because you know we were talking about that. I did watch the highlights because I missed the game and I wanted to see some of those guys. You could tell they had like 3 or 4 good receivers, but then they had like 3 or 4 just like really good players.
Yeah.
And I think that's all it is. And so it kind of brings us to a unique opportunity though, because now Colorado has been crowned. Everybody's thrilled about Deion. The hype train has started, and Nebraska is back down to poo-poo. No hype here. But let's be real. Like, we were favored going into this game before they played. So
favored by a touchdown.
Yeah.
Over a touchdown.
So I think Nebraska has a real opportunity here. We have no pressure. They have all the hype, and we can go in there, and this would be nothing but upside. We have no downside. We're expected to lose now. Everybody thinks we're going to lose. And this could be like now a marquee win.
Well, that's what's amazing about this is, on one hand, as I'm sitting there watching this TCU Colorado game, and by the way, that felt like a moment. It's too bad you were with like you watching it. It was like, you know, when you're watching something, you can feel like this is something. And it's also like there are stars, and then there are like, you know, there's. Trying to think of who would be. There's Tom Cruise, and then there's one of those like like Keanu Reeves or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's a difference. Like, Deion is a star. And so you're watching him, and you could see it on the first drive. You were like, okay, whoa, this team looks polished. They look buttoned up. Shedeur Sanders is slinging it. Travis Hunter is amazing. Dylan Edwards is awesome. They had 4 wide receivers with 100 yards receiving. Sanders throws for 510 yards. But what's hard is I'm sitting there watching that game, and I find myself doing this with Nebraska. I'm like, geez, I mean, this Deion how come he can do this in year 1 and they can look so polished? And we're sitting here trying to tell ourselves it's going to take years and years and years. And why doesn't it have to be like that? So that was the bad of it. But then the good of it is what you just said. It's like, now I think this Colorado doing what they did sets this game up perfect for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Where this went from like you can't lose this game. You can't go to Colorado and lose, to now like everybody's picking against you, like you said. And this would be a great win. One of the things you and I have talked about is like, over the years, in particular the Frost era, they've never been able to get like momentum. They've never had that like that program changing win, whether it was Michigan in 2021 or Ohio State in year one, like that big win. I'm not just saying this would be compared to that, but like, I don't know, this would be a big win.
Just because it's a national stage game. Like we have not been able to win the national stage. Any sort of marquee win with the country watching, and people are going to be watching because Deion he has captured the imagination of the college football nation. And
he's transcended into like Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith and Nick Wright and Colin Cowherd. Like they're leading their shows talking about Colorado and Deion. Yeah. So he's not just captivated the college football world, like he has captivated the sports world.
Yep.
And this TV number is going to be massive because not only is this would be a big TV number if Colorado was playing Indiana, but it's Colorado, Nebraska, old rivals. And so I just think this sets up where would you have, I don't know, on one hand, were you kind of like, oh my God, Colorado's good. This game's going to be a slog now. Sure. But this also creates like a really good opportunity for Rhule in Nebraska.
It's now an opportunity. It was almost like you can almost view it as like a burden before the season because they were expecting us to win in a tough environment. And now it's the opposite. They expect us to lose, and there's all this hype and attention on it.
Right.
So all we can do is look good from this point on. Because like nobody right now seems to care about us because we just are doing what we've been doing, which is lose close.
Oh, and people are like
don't understand
cracking jokes.
We don't understand it, right? So this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to steal some spotlight. We can steal Deion's spotlight. We can bring some. If we win this game, this is a recruiting battle win because if Deion kicks our butt, everybody in the country is going to start going, we're going to really consider going to play for Deion in Colorado. You know the pull he has for, so many kids in America because he's Deion. He's like, he's an idol to so many, right? So, but this, if we could go win this one, all of a sudden Matt Rhule looks like he's a man, like he's a contender. So this is it's a straight up opportunity. Now, is our team ready to go take it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. So it's interesting. We talked about how Nebraska they were like anywhere from a 7 to, I think I saw some places that had Nebraska as like an 8 or 8.5 point favorite heading into the season over Colorado. It's pretty remarkable for a line to move so much after one game. But now Colorado, I've seen 5. I checked Bet Online before we turned on the mics here. Colorado's favored by 3. So that's a lot. Like it's one thing to just go from one team favored to the other team favored.
It's 11
point swing. And in some ways, and I don't know if like this is like a thing that I create in my head or not, but like considering how both teams looked, does Colorado being -3 almost strike you as a line that's Vegas is begging you to bet Colorado? Meaning like, go ahead and bet, go ahead and drink the prime Kool-Aid and bet Colorado here.
I think so. I mean,
because because how about this? Dave Mason of Bet Online, he tweeted this yesterday. So we're taping this, it's Wednesday night. He tweeted that based on how the volume of bets that are coming in, said he'll be shocked if the Colorado game is not the biggest bet college football regular season game in the history of Bet Online.
Wow.
There's more cash on Colorado to cover. Again, this was Tuesday. Okay. This is just as of Tuesday. More cash on Colorado to cover the spread than the spread of all 32 NFL teams.
Whoo! So there's going to be a couple people watching this game. So
that's what I was also going to say. People watch what they bet. This game's television number is going to be insane.
Wow.
Insane. But Colorado's favored by 3 on Bet Online with a total of 59.5.
Wow. So So yeah, this is going to be interesting, man. This is like,
oh yeah,
this is getting bigger by the second.
You are not lying. So let me back up for a second though. Like, what do you think of Deion? Like, what do you think of Coach Prime and Deion?
I love Deion as a guy. Like, he's one of them. You know, how do you not love Deion? If you could, he's like the perfect cornerback that's ever existed. He's such a great athlete. He's such a fun, uplifting guy. Now, I just don't love his strategy is sort of, and I don't know that he's wrong for doing it. I just think it's like the worst place college football can go to, where you're just like, it becomes like the pros.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes like he's maybe the only guy that's not even pretending to do it a certain way. He's just like doing it. Maybe people will give him credit for it. I just think it's not a good precedent to set, is sort of that, like, it's to me, it's like it's lost some of the whatever the college aspect of it. It just doesn't even feel like that. Even like, does he even talk about academics? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't seem to be anywhere in his realm. And maybe he's just being more honest than everybody else.
Yeah, he probably is, of what this is. But
to me, it's like, it's just a signal of the path that we're going down, especially now that he's going to have success. I think there's a lot of people, maybe myself included, I didn't really want it to work for him, simply because I'm like, I wanted the game to go kind of the other direction. And now it feels like it's going towards like maybe the worst possible direction or something. Yeah. It's just like the direction of like nothing about school, the school and the university and the college matters. It's just like, I can get guys, players, money. It's just like, it feels more like that on the surface to me.
Yeah.
And you don't know till you're in Deion's room, but like, it feels very like that to me.
I go back and forth with Deion. I mean, first of all, I don't know if I've ever met anybody that doesn't love Deion Sanders as a player. Like, yeah. I mean, he was unbelievably fun to watch play. But there are times that I feel like Deion sometimes is like a walking contradiction. Like, if you listen to him talk, he preaches this like old school way. And then like there's been little videos released where he's made guys, kicked him out of the weight room for wearing the wrong shirt or wearing wearing different things. You can't have earrings or a chain or whatever. And it's like, your prime time.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes if I could ever ask Deion a question, I'm like, could you have played for you?
See, I didn't realize he was doing that.
Yeah. So it's like, that's like, he preaches all this stuff, but then he has a camera on him everywhere he goes. He's got the shades, the cowboy hat, or all this stuff. And it's all like a show.
Yeah, and I think that's the other part. Like, I'm happy that Deion, but that's very not me. That's anti me. I'm not. Right. I'm not I don't want a camera on me all day.
And he has a camera on him all the time.
Yeah,
and his pregame speeches are. Have you heard some of his pregame? Did you hear his pregame speech before the?
No, I did not.
Okay, we might have to put the
headphones
back on if you didn't hear his pregame speech.
No, I did not,
because it was pretty electric. Like, because he has. So here we go. We'll put these back on here. So this is Deion before the TCU game. Okay. We're gonna have to back it up here.
Because it's not about them.
You can watch it.
This is about us. This has nothing to do with the team that's opposing us. This is about us. This ain't got nothing to do with the naysayers, the unbelievers, the haters, the doubters. This is about us. When we started this journey, we told you it was going to be trying. It was going to be tough, but you endure it because it's about us. That man next to you is a miracle. That man next to you is a believer. That man next to you is a go-getter. That man next to you is a dog. That man next to you is somebody who wants this thing. That man next to you is somebody who believes. That man next to you is somebody that got to have it today. We ain't got tomorrow. We got now. We ain't got next. We got now. We ain't coming no more. Give me my theme music.
And that's how it goes.
I'll tell you what, that's pretty good.
He is
wow, that's pretty good.
He is a captivating locker room. I mean, is that not?
That's really good.
That's really good, right?
That's really good. And Nick, I mean, think about this. This is essentially a Nebraska football show, and we are talking about Deion. Everybody's talking because he's captivating.
He's a captivating dude. So that's where, like, there are moments I kind of cringe watching him over. Like, I don't love how he ran 60 guys off and all that stuff, and how he was with all that. But then the way he does stuff like that, and like it's pretty cool. But the thing that is so interesting is like the importance of believing.
Yeah.
And that's what makes that Minnesota game so frustrating, was like those Colorado guys went out there and they were buying into Deion. I mean, that's before the game, right? And they go out there and they play and perform and they win. He's got all those guys completely believing every single thing that guy is telling him and buying into everything that he's telling them. And that's what's frustrating about how that Minnesota game unfolded. But you go win this game, you're going to pour gasoline on that belief for Nebraska with Rhule too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Maybe Deion's number one quality as a head coach is he gives people confidence. I think you could say the same thing as a player. If he's on your team, God, you're confident because he's so over the top confident. It's infectious.
And it's
really
genuine. He is the most genuinely confident. He's one of the most genuinely it's like him, Jordan, Tiger.
Because he's better than everybody. He was just better. He was just better than everybody. I mean, Nick, he played pro baseball and pro football in the same week.
Right.
He's freaking confident. So I think that's the big takeaway I had from him was not watching his behind the scenes stuff, missing the game, but just my Deion impressions that I've gotten is like, one, from just knowing Deion, is people are confident when they're around Deion. He makes you confident. And two, I got this from Urban Meyer. He said it before, and he said during the Nebraska show, he said the Nebraska game, he said, I went and saw those Colorado coaches and play. Like, he goes, they're good. They're good coaches. They're good players. Like, Urban Meyer gave his little stamp during that Nebraska game. And I kind of went, God, that's 2 times he said that now.
Yes.
And that's why when everybody was hating on him, I was like, I remember thinking Urban Meyer said he thought they were doing pretty good. I go, Urban wouldn't say that unless
if he didn't really believe it.
If he was pretty certain that like they're doing some things right.
Right. I mean, it's because in some ways, like, all it takes is for you to see something unfold for it to become obvious of like, oh, well, everybody should have saw this. Like, Travis Hunter was the number 1 player in the country 2 years ago. Yeah. Shedeur Sanders was like a top 50 recruit, top 70 recruit. Like, he had major offers. Dylan Edwards, their running back, was committed to Notre Dame and a high profile recruit. Like, as you brought up earlier in our conversation here, and even to start our game recap pod in our last podcast for the Minnesota game, is like, you posed the question of like, does Nebraska have an elite player? Yeah. And in some ways, the only difference between Nebraska and Colorado is they have for sure 3 elite players.
Yeah.
And like you pointed out, it's really like 4 because Hunter goes both ways. And if you want to, what was the difference in that TCU game was like those
quarterback, running back, wide receiver probably wins us that game against Minnesota. Yeah. I guarantee you it does.
Yes.
So here's what's interesting about this game. Colorado came out against TCU and they balled out. They scored a lot of points. They gave up a good amount of points, but TCU played their game. Spread it out, throw it up tempo. Nebraska has an opportunity to play a grindy game against a team who I don't know how good their lines are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I know they got some good skill guys. So this is an opportunity to sort of to set a tone on how to win a game against a more quote unquote talented, explosive team.
Right.
Because this offense of theirs is more than ours, right? But this is an opportunity. We don't know what their lines are made of, and we don't know like how will they handle a game that's like, man, what if we held the ball? How Minnesota held it on us? Like, what if we gave a first half to them where, Sanders and Hunter and these guys and Edwards, they get one drive? How much rhythm are they going to have? How explosive are they going to be with one drive a quarter or something like that? Right. That's the type of game that I think if we can play, we can go in there and win this game.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Because I don't know what they are as a line, and I don't know, they're confident, but TCU played that. The game they want to play is that game.
I think so. What you're getting at is, to me, the most fascinating thing about this game, this matchup, and how, to me, the game plan is really obvious. I'm going to tell you, we're going to get more into that in a second. But first, I got to tell you about Pella Windows and Doors. I've told you they're doing work on my house. They're going to put a front door, a new bay window in. My wife is pumped. My wife is now best friends with Debbie. They're BFFs. They've been like lockstep, making this whole process easy. When you're way out of your element with this stuff, the showroom is fantastic. The showrooms in Lincoln and in Omaha. Sometimes it helps to actually feel the door, feel the window, open it, close it, to know what you're installing into your home. You can schedule your free in-home consultation. You get a Pella expert out to your house. They'll be able to take a look at everything, give you some options on what you do. They just make the whole process easy.
You think they'd put windows in my new house?
I was going to say,
would they do it? I would love it. Maybe need to do it.
You need to go to PellaOmaha.com. Do that right now. Just go to PellaOmaha.com and make that up. Schedule a free in-home consultation. That's PellaOmaha.com. Putting windows in my house and soon to be Bo Ruud's house as well. Okay. You had a great little appetizer to set up this game. I think this game, what's fascinating about it is everything that you brought up, in that, in some ways, TCU was the perfect matchup. I'm not saying, TCU was good. They were in the title game last year, right? They're top 25 team. But in some ways, TCU played stylistically a way that was a good matchup for Colorado.
Yeah.
It was basically a 7-on-7 game where they wanted a scoring contest, all those kinds of things. Nebraska is naturally built in a way to give Colorado issues. Like the blueprint on how to beat Colorado is a little bit of how Nebraska kind of wants to play. So don't you feel like the game plan is painfully simple? Like, offensively, run the ball, huddle up, take your time in the huddle. Don't get a delay a game, but take your time in the huddle. Break the huddle about 15, snap the ball with about 2 or 3 seconds on the play clock, then huddle up and do that all over again and keep Sanders and Edwards and Hunter.
QB runs, hand it off, hand boot, quick, use your tight ends, get Fedoni, get Borkature, get those guys in the passing game and grind it out. Just slow grind them and see what they are made of if you run it on them for 4 quarters. Yeah. And keep the ball away from those skill guys. Sanders had 47 attempts last game. It's a lot of throws. Yes. Right? And
they play fast. That's something you maybe didn't get a chance to see, but just watching the highlights. Both they are their tempo, especially early in the game, that they really get up to the line and they are going.
Yeah. And so doesn't TCU play a 3-3-5? They did.
Yep.
So that's going to be interesting to see how we play, especially how much man we're going to do on these receivers, how much we're going to be pressing up on these guys versus, sort of dropping back and keeping everybody in front of us. I'm interested to see that, because to me, it's like, if we're going to be chasing guys and being, in people's faces, hugging hips, versus we're dropping back and keeping people underneath, and giving the short stuff and coming up and tackling. It's a little bit different mindset. So I'm curious to see what they do here, because with these teams that want to go fast and they want to freaking just get you wide and get you in space.
What do you think? You had to go against some of the early Big 12 kind of air raid stuff. This is a little bit like that. What do you feel like is the best way to?
It's a little different. It's a little different era. So I don't know if it's totally comparable, but you do have to match to a degree, right?
What do you mean?
you have to match routes, right?
Oh,
You
okay.
can't
Yep.
just you can't just play zone. Right? You can't just drop into zone. You got to match. So it's either like a zone match or you got to like man up some. Like man, because a true man is like where you are. But then you know, if you got a good quarterback in your man, like then it can get dicey too. So there's no perfect coverage. It's just how aggressive are we going to be? How much are we pressing up on these guys?
Right. The one thing I will say is that I thought the secondary played well for Nebraska, and I would say that the secondary is the strength of the team probably for Nebraska. But yeah, Sanders looked like the kind of guy that if you give him time, he's accurate, he's smart. So I don't know how much they're going to try to get after him. He doesn't want to run. He's not one of those guys that necessarily wants to climb the pocket and go run. He's not one of those. He's
training with Tom Brady. He wants to be Tom Brady.
He wants to stay in the pocket, and
that's what it tells me is that's what he wants to do. And that's how you have a career too. He's got his dad knows the game. He's probably telling his son, you don't want to be that guy. You want to be Brady,
right?
Because he says Lamar Jackson, he's gonna have a shorter career. Tom Brady, he's like that guy went for 20.
Well, you could just see I was blown away at Sanders' command and control and like just his poise and comfort of just like it was unbelievable watching him operate in the pocket the other day. So part of me feels like if you let him just sit comfortable, he's going to pick you apart. I also think, as we talk about all the time, like your success on those up-tempo teams, their success on first down is huge. Like if you can get them off schedule on first down and get them into second and long and third and long, it's really important, because usually that tempo, it's like all they got to do is get one first down, and then it really kind of like snowballs on you. But go back to the offense for a second. I mean, I think one of the things that this is a game that I don't care what plan or thought you have on it. We've talked about this a ton. This is a game that you can't save Jeff Sims. If you got to run Jeff Sims 20 to 25 times in this game, you do it.
Do it.
And that's what I think they need to do. I think he's got to be the focal point of the game plan, running him.
Well, you know, we're down on receivers right now. So Garcia Castaneda is out with an ACL. So a depleted wide receiver situation got even more. One of the top three receivers. Yeah.
You have Kemp, Washington, and Garcia Castaneda.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, it is a code red at the receiver spot. Not to mention you have a turnover prone quarterback.
So you got Jalen Lloyd and Malachi Coleman. They're going to have to play this year now.
Yes.
Those two guys are freshmen. They're probably not ready, and they're going to need time. And to me, the way you buy them time is Jeff Sims is going to have to run more.
Yes.
And you're going to have to use your tight ends more. Both those tight ends need to be in the game.
What happened with, like, it was so interesting how Billy Kemp didn't catch a single ball. Joel Rhule said he was the first read on 9 different plays.
Yeah.
And he didn't get it, but they threw a pick overthrowing him. They threw it to Tommy Pickles going down the middle. He was Tommy Pickles going over the middle. Then he had the RPO that he was running wide open. They got deflected at the second level. Tommy Pickles trying to get his Angelica game ready. This Say Stave is getting your boy feeling pretty nice these days. Say Stave to everybody out there. All right, say a little Stave.
Oh yeah,
but it's for like Billy Kemp. I can't believe dude had 0. You didn't have a catch.
Catches. Fedoni, no catches.
No catches. I
think our tight end, to me, I saw, like, I have a feeling about our tight ends. Those guys, I think, are like, if you look at Billy Kemp and you look at Bullock and you look at Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, like those guys on the national level, you put like where they stack up, like athleticism, skill wise, our receivers are below average.
Yeah.
I'd say you put your tight ends and you go, those guys are above average athletes at that position. To me, I go that I think those guys need to be more of a focal point. Like, let's not like force the ball to freshmen and guys that aren't necessarily our best players. We got to find a way to fit the offense to our best talent, which is,
Agreed.
I think, the tight ends. We need to make, and to me, that means boots and things to get the tight end. Like Iowa does a great job of that. They use their tight ends in that boot package, and those guys are getting multiple catches every single game, especially in big situations. And they're big bodies, and it's harder to overthrow them. It's harder. You can make more mistakes because they got longer limbs. Fedoni's got that wingspan. Like, let's see him use it once.
I agree. It just seems like it all fits. Like you're depleted at the wide receiver spot. Sims, it gets a little locked in on his targets.
Yeah.
He has been turnover prone with interceptions his whole career. He can run. You're playing a team whose offense is electric and you want to keep them on the sidelines. Like the game plan writes itself, right? Like just
Colorado should know exactly what we're going to do. And we should know exactly what we're going to do. And it's the same thing, but can you do it? That's what we have to do. We have to be willing to do it. And sprinkle in a couple of unique facets to doing that.
Right. It can't be. Yeah, you got to have some little.
And that's where the offensive coordinator's job is. It's like okay, new blocking technique in these base kind of packages. The same philosophy, but I just think you look at Billy Kemp, and I think we need to get him the ball, but not in the seam or like not in traffic because. He's not a big guy. Like you need the big bodied guys in the positions where I think it's up high down the field or, Billy Kemp needs to be working in space and he needs to be thrown to when it's open, let him run. Like he's just not a big enough body to be like this.
Yeah. In traffic over the middle.
Like throwing him up the seam. It's like the Wandale thing. It's like, it leads to like, these little guys you throw to in certain areas of the field, it's like you put the ball at risk almost.
Yeah. And the other thing too, that'll be interesting with this game is like, I remember before Nebraska joined the Big Ten and maybe even the first couple of years of the Big Ten, I did always I fought and rolled my eyes at like the Big Ten physicality and it's a trenches, it's different in this league and all those things. But like now that being immersed in this conference for over 10 years and watching it, like it is different, man. Yeah. It's a different league. And I now look at conferences like the Big 12 and I'm like, like you watch that game, the TCU Colorado game. I mean, the tackling, the physicality, it's just night and day. Yeah. And so it'll be very interesting to see if, although Rhule's in year one, like this is a Big Ten roster, like if they can come into Boulder and like kind of bully them.
I would like to see him try. I'd like to see him try. I still don't know that we have that, like we've brought in the fullback, but like I didn't see us like pounding people. No, I don't think we have a fullback that's that guy yet. I think that's going to be something down the road. We're going to have to find like, Lorenzo Neal, like a Makovica, right?
A Schlesinger.
A Schlesinger is, we almost bow down to it.
Ever since you told me that story of Schlesinger on the opening kickoff in the 94 Orange Bowl against Miami, where people should go watch that, right? Opening kickoff.
It was in Husker Classics. Yeah.
Husker Classics. We talked about that. He KO'd a guy.
Knocked him out in the opening kickoff of, he was the up back blocker, KO's a guy. And like, it's like, off to a national championship, it's like that. That's the sort of those kind of guys in a position like a fullback, right? That's how you change a game as a fullback. And we need a couple of those type of guys. Yeah. If we're going to be a power football team, if we're going to,
so I don't know. I
don't know if we're there yet.
Right. Because just because you play in the Big Ten doesn't necessarily make you that.
But
you know what I mean?
The question is Colorado, have they dealt with that at all in the Big 12? I just don't know that they have.
I don't think they really have. And the reality is Nebraska did go against Minnesota's kind of like a Big Ten team, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like they're big, they want to run the ball, and they went on the road and kind of won. I mean, I would say they won the trenches. Nebraska did.
I'd say they did. We ran the
bodes well.
Yeah.
And so it's just this game, like there are elements of this game where you see the matchup of being like, I could, like, okay, Nebraska, they come in there, they could bully them, control the line of scrimmage, control the clock, run Sims, keep Sanders and Edwards and those guys on the sidelines, could milk the clock. Like, that's how this game's got to be. If this game, what's the number that if this game gets over X amount of points, it's just like, no. Because that's the scary thing.
I can't see us winning this game if Colorado scores more than 24.
I agree.
So we're not winning 32 to 28.
Yes.
I think it's either we win 24 to 7
Couldn't agree
or
more.
we're going to get it's going to be a shootout that they'll win.
Couldn't agree more. This is a game, like I look at that total being 59.5, like it better be under.
Yeah, I'd take the under.
If it's over that, it ain't happening. I
think that line will move down, and I think it'll be interesting to see if that Colorado -3 moves back towards Nebraska.
I don't know, because that's a big. I mean, that's 8 point. That's 11-point swing. That's a lot of points, and so.
Yeah.
To me, I'll be very curious to see how much they run Sims. To me, it's painfully obvious, like that he's the only way they can move the ball. And in this game, he's got to be toting that thing a bunch.
Well, and you could say, to start the year on all our schedules, the biggest game of the year was Minnesota.
Isn't it funny? I know it's like now the next game,
but the truth of it is now nobody could have predicted the rise of Colorado in 1 week. The rise in whatever has happened at Colorado is it's kind of amazing.
It's unbelievable. It's why Deion. It's why we always said, like, what's LeBron make? Like whatever LeBron makes, he's unbelievably underpaid.
Yeah.
Like whatever Deion's making, he's unbelievably underpaid. You could just him being there. I think it got them back into the Big 12. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, because that's what we're talking about. Like they're a Big 12 team. They're a Pac-12 team right now. They're going to be a Big 12 team.
Yeah.
But same thing. Pac-12 and Big 12 are very similar to me in those regards.
Get their Pac-12 sometimes.
Yeah, I know. Right. But I'm saying they're going back to the Big 12. It got them an invite. It's got them on big noon kickoff to start. I mean, think about that. Yeah. Colorado's 1-11 last year, and they have the prime Fox schedulers sat in a room, and they probably had the first pick. They're like, we'll take Colorado first 2 weeks of the season. Think about that. Without Deion, so it's like.
So think about this, though. So think about this. You say Deion's underpaid. I would probably say agree. I don't know what was he making this year.
Not enough.com.
Well, I know, but I mean, I don't know if he's making more than Matt Rhule. I don't think he is.
I don't doubt he is.
Right. So you're Colorado. You're making what, 6?
Deion's making $5.5 million.
5.5. Okay. If he wins a few more games at Colorado, I mean, Nick. Somebody's going to throw a big,
SEC teams coming.
They're going to throw a big bag of money at him after 1 year. I wouldn't doubt in year 1.
Oh, Colorado, yeah, like Colorado's excited, but also like we're losing this guy.
Yeah, so that's the interesting part about this whole thing is might sound insane. It went from everybody didn't think Deion was going to get it done and Deion was going to fail to 1 week. It's like he might be leaving Colorado. That's how much it's changed. But let's say maybe reality is Nebraska walks in and steals one from them, and then it brings everybody back down to earth or something.
Right. This would be a really big win. You beat your rival. And what's cool is even Deion and Shedeur Sanders have talked about like this game, it's personal, nowhere in red, all that stuff. Yeah. So they're embracing it, which is great. The atmosphere is going to be electric. You go in there and you win that game. You would so much rather win this game than the Minnesota game, because even though it's a conference game,
we couldn't have predicted that this game is going to have the eyeballs.
This kind of situation.
It's kind of amazing. So I mean, like I say, sell out, run Jeff Sims 20 times, grind that clock out, play our game, get a signature win, Matt Rhule.
Right.
Get a signature win for this program, for the fan base. I mean, good God, people would be so, because then we could go. We have two
more winnable games in Michigan.
3 in a row.
Right.
Nick, we get 3 in a row if we could win this game.
So Colorado's in the top 25. Nebraska's lost 21 straight games against ranked opponents. Mm-hmm. Their last ranked opponent victory was against Oregon in 2016.
I just think also we have the national TV factor. Like that's been our biggest downside. Like if it's
big stages,
if
like
the
bigger the stage, the bigger the
So
the pantsing.
I'm not getting my hopes up because of that, but I actually see this game as teed up for us to steal it.
I always
steal the glory. In this
I always wonder what it's like too for the rival. You know, like Shedeur Sanders and those guys are talking about the rivalry, but it's like it's interesting how. Like the rivalry was easy for you to understand because you and I probably went to like the 94 Colorado game together. And
we saw one at Colorado and their fans were jerks. Like we were never out of that. Like my whole career, I was never out of it. It's harder, I think, for the kids now because like, I mean, even if you're Colorado, like, do they talk about they weren't allowed to wear red in their campus facilities for 30 years, Nick.
Right.
So for 30 years, you were not allowed to wear red. You had one focus. Their focus was Nebraska. Their focus was, we're going to make our thing is that we're coming after you. That was their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Our thing was like Oklahoma, when the Big we had lots of things. They had one thing, Nebraska. Their whole thing became that. And their coach bet his career on it. And it was a good bet because it actually brought them to national prominence. But Colorado now doesn't know that. They don't still do that.
That's what's so it's just it's interesting how that is. Like the fan bases still feel it. The older fans do. The only thing I can relate it to is like when I went to Kansas, I quickly learned, and now they don't play each other. Now they're starting to renew the rivalry, but like the Missouri rivalry, like you could feel it, and you immediately get indoctrinated. Is that I don't know if that's right. Like you immediately get into that world. So those guys, a lot of people are gonna have to kind of get into that mode. Like, and that's what there's one thing I like about Rhule is he respects the past. He always brings it up. So like, and so does Deion. Like both those guys, I think are gonna do a good job this week getting their teams ready because as you know, like that game's different. Like when you play your rival, there's just a different. The air is different. The vibe in the arena or stadium's different. Like you got to get mentally ready for it.
I'll tell you what, too. Because now we're talking about like that game in 05. I don't want to say it may be my favorite game I ever played in my life because it is a cool place to play.
Yeah,
because it's up in the mountains. They got the big flat asphalt end zone. I just remember like walking over there and sitting on that before the game, and it was a really nice day. And I was just like, it was a great place to play. It was. You
knew it would be a hostile environment.
It was a restore the order.
In some ways, I'd rather play. I'd rather silence the crowd than like make the crowd roar. I love. There's nothing better than silencing.
But our fans always show up there, they always try to keep us out. They always try to not sell tickets to us, but we always fill like half the stadium, right? But I remember, so that was the game. That was to restore the order. We were up in the stands after the game in our shirts, and I always tell the story because my buddies, that were on the team. We loved this night so much. We came right to from the airport.
Straight to the bar,
straight to the rail.
Yeah.
And we were wearing we just had our warm-ups and our restore the order shirts, and people were offering us hundreds of dollars for the shirt. They're like, I'll pay you $100 for the shirt. And we're like, no way, my man.
Priceless.
And so like we all kept the shirts, and we were, like I said, it was one of the funnest nights ever because it was a signature win.
And you beat your rival.
We beat our rival, and it was Colorado at Colorado. It was Joel Klatt.
Yep.
It was the Buffs who, they were getting full of themselves. They beat us a few times, and that was a really satisfying win for us.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, obviously I remember the 94 game at home. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, in 97, I thought it was 97, Amon Green took the first play from scrimmage to the house.
Yep.
Of course, then you go into the 2000s, even when the rivalry, you have that game, the restore the order game. You have Alex Henry's 57-yard field goal, which then then the ensuing drive, Sue gets the touchdown and he high steps in there.
And he just
mollywops
the quarterback,
stiff armed him into
get off me, you dirty dog. Yeah, it was great.
So there's been some good, and unfortunately, Nebraska blows the 17-point lead in 2019. Nebraska in year one of Frost should have won that game and lost.
Got the late pass interference targeting.
Yes.
I mean, that was just killer.
Right? Adrian Martinez hurts his knee.
Gets his leg twisted, cheap shotted.
Right.
That was bull. I mean,
so I think both coaches will do a good job getting both teams ready for the rivalry. But the reality is you got to kind of coach them into like, hey, you hate them a little more because they're your rival. Like there's a little bit of that going on.
Yeah, you have to teach. You have to teach.
You have to teach that.
They don't know.
Kind of unique. But I mean, it's just hard because like I do think on one hand, I sit here and as we have to give a prediction. It's you can see how Nebraska wins this game. I just don't trust Nebraska's offense enough. I don't trust Jeff Sims enough. I don't think at this point where, and the hard part is that Nebraska, I think can't score. And the one thing Colorado do is they can score. So I lean towards, 35 to 24, 21 in that area where it's kind of like it's close for a while.
A part of me is wondering about this Colorado team. As much as I am wondering about Nebraska, what's our offense, right? I don't know what we are yet. But this Colorado team has been crowned.
Yeah.
And it's premature. So I would say, for me, I think psychologically, they're probably full of themselves now. And this week, I'm guessing they're not going to be focusing like they would if they were just like, we got to get our first win, or like they may have had the greatest week of their lives in terms of like, everybody wants to talk to you. How many interviews can we do? Everybody's patting you on the back. And that's usually the worst thing that can happen to a football team. It really is.
Yeah.
A good coach will smack them down quickly and let them, like that was what Belichick's greatest, like he was the master at. Every week he put you back in your place.
Yeah.
Tom Brady included. Like every single week he did that. Will Deion be able to do that to this team?
Because you heard his pregame speech. Non-believers.
Yeah.
Everybody, he was playing the card. Nobody believes in us. Nobody believes in us. Nobody believes in us. Everybody's doubting you. Everybody's a doubter. Everybody's doubting you. Well, you can't play that card. Like everything changes now. So your whole motivational tactic, your messaging to the team, all that stuff has to change.
Yeah.
And to what you're saying, it's going to be interesting to see how Colorado handles that.
Yeah, I think maybe our biggest edge is that.
And then conversely, Nebraska, it's all like Nebraska is going to have no shortage of bulletin board material.
Yeah.
Everybody, they can literally say everybody's doubting you. I mean, here, Keyshawn Johnson saying Nebraska's sorry, and Rich Eisen, I think, said Colorado's going to beat Nebraska back into the Homestead Act which is as a library history buff, Bo Ruud. I love that you
like it, Rich. That's pretty good.
It's like when Homer went to college, it was like out with the old and in with the nucleus. Like the joke of the side that landed with you being a history guy. But so everybody's not only like doubting, but they're kind of like making fun of Nebraska.
That's because we have not done anything to like combat that though. Like we have basically embarrassed ourselves on the national stage for 15 years.
Yeah.
So I don't even care if they say it because we need to do something about it. And this is an opportunity. Once again, you only get so many opportunities before it's just like the opportunities are gone. So like to me,
this would be a huge opportunity, man. This would be
take it. This is not it's not necessarily like the program changer, but it would be a big step in the right direction.
It would be, yeah. I'm not saying it's you talked about the 05 game being
you got to get
to the point where it really
that took like 2 full years
to get to where you're
like, okay, we've
but
won.
There are probably games on that journey that helped propel you closer to that.
Yeah.
And this would be a big step. Again, Nebraska's not beat a ranked team since 2016, 21 straight games.
Yeah.
And this would be as big of a stage as maybe any of them.
Yeah.
And so this is and your rival, and it's Deion. Again, picture right now, Prime having to walk to center to the 50-yard line and shake Matt Rhule's hand after Rhule, Nebraska just beat them.
Here's the thing. There's Colorado and Nebraska right in the center of the freaking country. They're the two best programs right in the smack middle, right? The upper, the Great Plains up into the west. That's us. And everything else good is pretty much south. And so like, this is a recruiting battle game, right? So there's a lot of recruits we usually pull out of Colorado. We usually take like a lineman and a linebacker and a safety or something. Their best three, like 2 or 3 players, we usually
Kenny
get.
Bell, isn't Kenny Bell from Colorado?
Yeah, we always
Bale.
have taken a good player or two out of Colorado, and on the national recruiting scene, Deion's got the juice right now.
Oh, you ain't lying.
We need to. The guys willing to come this direction. We need to be getting those guys.
Yeah,
because not everybody wants to come to Nebraska, or Colorado, or Iowa or Minnesota. So like, we've got to be the premier team in the Great Plains, in the the near west.
Okay, what do you
taking the Huskers? 20-7.
20-7?
20-7.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if Nebraska holds Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Dylan Edwards, all those dudes, and Deion to 7 points, everybody's gonna lose their mind.
I think.
But you think it's more about like
it's us.
They control the game,
muck it up so much, right? Muck it up so much.
This needs to be a PJ Fleck in COVID. The COVID year when they came to Nebraska, and they remember that game where they literally Minnesota did not take a single snap with the play clock above 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's got to be what this is.
Yeah. It's like whatever that's what I'm trying to I know they could score 45 points and we'll score 28 and it's a blowout, whatever. Like that's a possibility, but the game, I think because the game can play a bunch of ways. It doesn't have to be a high scoring game, but if it's not, we're going to win the low scoring game. That's what I think.
Oh, I'd be crunk.
I think
Nebraska's going to try to do that. I just think they're.
Are we good enough to do it?
I don't know if they're good enough to do it. I don't know if they're good enough to do that. Which I wrote down a couple of names or a couple of things to think about within that game. Keep in mind, Ty Robinson out in the first half.
Yep.
Sucks.
Yep.
I hate that rule.
That's stupid.
Way too punitive. I don't even think. I mean, for someone to get thrown out of a sporting event, it's got to be egregious. And everybody's like, yeah, that guy's got to go.
And then the guy booed out of 2 games now. It's like,
so keep that in mind. Is Henrich going to be back?
Yeah. Veteran presence, that will help.
He's not the most fleet of foot guy, but at the same time, he's smart.
That's half the battle, though. Sometimes it's like you just need guys to know where they need to be.
Right. I'm a huge Nicky Henrich fan. Say Steve. Hey, Nick, say Steve.
Say Steve. Say Steve.
Say what? One say Steve will have you feeling not so Steve.
So if you have...
Hi, I'm Nick Bahe. One say Steve will make you feel less.
If you lose to Colorado by 40, have a say Steve because you're going to need it.
Have a say Steve before the Colorado game. Either way, you won't remember what happened.
You won't remember a thing.
What a horrible tagline.
Okay. Yeah, they don't want that this year.
They don't want that. No, this was good.
Yeah.
Boys nice. Fighting the temptation to open can number 2. You know what I'm saying? But 9% out. I mean, it's appropriately named. Say Stave. I like it. I like it a lot. So Henrich coming back. The secondary. It just those guys, Hartzog, Newsom, Omar Brown.
They're gonna play the
as
game
our
of their
boy
lives.
Willie wrote on Facebook. I really appreciated this after Omar Brown's reception. He wrote, because he's bad. Omar Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town. I mean, the secondary isn't not saying you got a bunch of Prince of Mukamaras out there, but
we'll find out what they really are. This is the game. This is the game.
Those dudes are nice. Colorado's dudes are nice.
This is a real matchup here. So if those guys are what we think they could be, this is their test.
Yes.
Because really, it's them and can we get any heat on Sanders? That's the game.
Right.
And then we muck it up on offense, get 17 points, we should win. That's the game. But the DBs have to show up. If they can't handle these guys in space, then it's a 45-28 game. Colorado wins.
Rank the levels. Secondary. You want to rank? Is this a stupid exercise? Position group importance in terms of their performance. Secondary, linebackers, D-line, O-line. Let's just go with defense. Rank those 3.
I think this is the secondary game.
Oh.
Secondary, D-line, linebacker.
Okay.
Where normally you probably say D-line is.
Does that hurt you as a former linebacker?
Not really. I don't care.
The other thing I wrote down. I can't wait to see. I mean, our beachfront property on Gabe Irvin Island. I mean, I still want to hold on to it and vacation there with you.
If he doesn't get the rock,
like
20 carries for one time in the first 3 games, then it tells me that they don't want to give him the rock. And
exactly.
That means that there's something wrong where they don't trust it. Like nobody's ever trusted. So
there's something, and that's what I don't understand. Like there's something about how that game, the carries, how those carries divvied out. Something's weird there.
I still think like Gabe Irvin is cursed in like the plays he gets are the ones he's like, okay, so everyone's not blocking this one, right? Versus like, we're going to block now.
Yeah. Pro right, 54 ISO, Irvin's in, wink, wink. On one set, like that, and people are like, okay, so whiff block, is that what we're doing here?
Like he always gets like there's either no room or he gets like no carries.
But I don't understand in that. I just hope that Irvin's not like not one of those guys that like he does everything so well that you want him to be like he's like a symbolic starter. Does that make sense? Like one of those guys. I'm trying to think of an example of it, but I think you know what I'm getting at. Where
he's
it's like
the guy that does everything right, so you start him, and then when it gets in crunch time, you go, "This guy's. We want this guy though." It happens sometimes.
I hope it happens sometimes. I hope Irvin's not one of those guys because it just makes no sense. How could Gabe Irvin be the starter? How can Gabe Irvin be the starter? Win the job. Rhule gush about him. Say this is what he's supposed to look like. I think he's a guy that can. In the fourth quarter, big bruising back, can close out games. Yeah. How does he then not have as many carries as Anthony Grant?
But it to me, it was less about even total carries. Because sometimes, hey, you're on a drive, and that drive, the guy gets carries.
Okay.
I just feel like he's not being featured. Like, it's not like there's no intention to get Gabe Irvin carries.
Yes.
It's sort of like, luckily he got one in this.
Here you go.
This series he was in, he was the lucky, got the random carry because it's all random. We don't feature back.
There's no emphasis on making sure he has the ball.
Yeah, we don't want to pound Gabe Irvin. That's not our game plan. It seemed like we have running backs and who's ever in gets the carry if it falls that way. I go, that means you're not that you don't think he's a feature back. But maybe he's not a feature back then.
Yeah,
because you're not featuring him.
But I think this is a game where you'll find out about that a little bit. So obviously, Gabe Irvin's a guy I wrote down. The tight ends, we've talked about that. I want to see a lot of Nate Boa Constrictor and Fedoni. Can we get my guy the ball? I think Fedoni, I have him in Canton already.
I know you do, but Nick, he's got to catch one first. Before we go to Canton, just one catch, and then we'll go right to Canton.
I'm ready to call. Who's the giant dude that always presents guys with their, that giant?
You've come a long way. You've made it here. Your friends, your family, your teammates. On behalf, he has his spiel, and everybody's.
He always said, and everybody's out. Jimmy Johnson's like crying,
dang.
I want to break
He's
into
a big bear of a man, though, isn't he?
He's so big, and then he's so heartfelt that people. I think that's also part of it too. It's like he's this big grizzly bear, and he's just like, "You've come a long way, haven't you?"
Yeah, he has the spiel.
He's got his whole thing, and football guys are just like, "Yeah, it means a lot." But I want to do that for Fedoni. I'm ready to do that for Fedoni.
Let's let him have
one of my bold predictions. Like Fedoni's gonna have a huge year, and dude wasn't even like.
You got time. I mean, the first game's always,
You just can't tell me. Like, I don't know. He's like you said earlier, like on the spectrum of talent. Like Fedoni's talented.
Yeah, we have an advantage with talent with guys like him and Boa Constrictor. I always know that you love that type of stuff.
Did Jake the Snake? Did he bring out a python or a boa constrictor?
question. I think it was.
Let's Google it.
I think it was a albino python. He named him. He always had a name for him.
He had a name for.
Oh, each one of his snakes. Yeah, he does.
Oh, he had multiple. You know a lot about Jake.
I watched a little bit of wrestling growing up.
Jake the Snake, type of snake. That's a great albino python.
Is that right?
Yeah, you got it right.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay, not bad.
oh boy.
I got that right. I can't believe it.
Okay, you're acting like you didn't know.
I mean, I didn't know for sure. I took a pretty good guess, though.
What a stupid people in the writer's room. It's like he's come out with a python, and after he pins him, he puts the python on him.
It rubs. Ah, they're like, ah. Jake,
I mean,
the snake.
He had multiple. He named. But either we need to get Nate boa constrictor needs to get a boa constrictor, and like he needs to like walk into the game like with the boa constrictor. That's what we need to see out of him. It's ridiculous. But we need to see more tight ends.
Yep.
Okay, then we'll kind of land the plane here with Sims. Like one game in, where I mean, he's been a focal point of conversation. Like, where are you at with Sims after one game?
Well, here's the part with him that's going to be interesting is like oh man, you know, he threw some bad picks. He doesn't seem to see the field great. But you know what? If he's a serviceable quarterback, that's okay. Like if his floor is higher than we think, that's what, like, I think there's this fear that he's going to get worse or something. Well, maybe he won't get worse. Maybe like that's the floor. He can go a little higher and play well some games.
Yep.
But he's never going to be great. But if that's his floor, I mean, we can almost win against a pretty good team with that floor. So what he needs to do is have that be his floor, and you know, have some games he plays a little better. And maybe he'll never be great. But what we can't have is like, this is like the step to him playing worse and worse and worse. Like we can't have his floor be way lower than that. No. He needs to be like the guy that's like, okay, yeah, maybe one bad throw a game, but like for the most part, he can run and he can win games with his legs and, you know, just pretty basic plays. Because his legs are, and he's a good runner. He's a big dude that is hard to deal with.
Yes.
He's a monster dude. He's like 6'4".
He's not as fast as I thought he was.
He's quick, twitchy in terms of like jukey, but he's got a stride on him. Like I bet.
Do you think he can take a 60-yarder to the crib?
Yeah, you get him in the open, he'd take it.
You think the GPS knows the way to the crib?
I say rev up that the Nick.
I don't know. I think
he's got that, but he's got the long stride. He'd be fine.
I don't know. I don't know if he can get to the crib if he needs to.
Nick, he's going to the crib.
You ready for the analogy of all analogies?
Give it to me.
I think Sims is. You remember the movie Gremlins?
Yes.
Remember the rules of owning a gremlin?
Don't pour water on.
So it's avoid bright light, don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight.
Okay.
Gizmo, he was cooled in a mug if you did those things, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously you don't do that. I think Gremlins 2, they took over New York, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Just to remind me here. Did the Gremlins come from a gizmo? Did the gizmo breed?
I think remember they like with the stuff like
didn't something bubble out that made the Gremlins?
I think I'm remembering like some on their back, like it would like bubble up and they'd like shoot, like I think so.
I can't remember how the first Gremlins got, because it was like like
and then they were bad. Like if you did those things, then bad things would.
It was Gizmo Gremlins. Because Gizmo got wet.
I think so.
I think. Is that
but
right?
Then I think that sounds.
Because he was so nice, but then the Gremlins came from him. Yeah.
The Gremlins came from him, but he still remained like one of the homies. Guy, you know, like. But Gremlins 2, the New York movie, that movie was crazy. That's one of the craziest.
You're into Gremlins.
That movie was crazy. But my point is, with Sims, you got to treat him like Gizmo. Like how you use him.
Yeah.
The situations you put him in the right situations. There's a version where you look at him and you're like, I like him.
Yeah. He's Gizmo when
you know, boot simple reads,
zone read,
run them,
yeah,
feature back,
drop back, scramble,
like all that. Getting him wet is like sitting him in the pocket,
hard throws,
hard reads, different route concepts where he's having to then all of a sudden you got a Gremlins Lost in Minneapolis situation brewing. And so I just, with him, I like him if you use him in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I think in this game, it's got to be 20 to 25 carries. It's got to be featured, trying to get the running back, Gabe Ervin, rolling, chew the clock, and then his passing situations, simple boots, easy reads, easy throws. If you want to take some shots, I guess, but I don't even know who is the shots, Mr. First Down. Who's
They brought in Tommy Hill. I think you'll see Lloyd Hill or Malachi Coleman, because I don't think
anybody can run past somebody. Is Washington a burner like that? He'll get a first down, but he's not going to give you
he wants the first down.
He just wants to get 10 yards.
I don't see him as necessarily like the deep guy. I think you got to have a guy that takes the top off usually, that runs by. And I think those guys are the speedsters. I mean, that's why Tommy Hill, came in for that one play.
You know where I stand with Tommy Hill. I'm on Zillow.com, Tommy Hill Island, and I'm contemplating. Okay, what guy in the team? You and I have.
I'm on Gabe Ervin Island. I've been on.
And you and I are. We are like the mayors of Fedoni Island, but that island's becoming like.
I'm on Gabe Ervin Island. There's a water shortage right now.
A significant water shortage.
And we're not.
It feels like we were promised things.
Yeah, we're
promised water.
We're starting to get concerned. This might be a water shortage, and we're going to die in this island. It's what we're worried about.
Well, what other island? You buying any beachfront property on Fedoni Island?
Not yet. He's got to do one catch, and I'll look at some real estate. Polar
Bear Island?
That's in Antarctica. I've considered it. I think I'm going to go to Singleton Bay.
What about bad Omar Brown, baddest man in the whole damn town?
He's got uptown apartment in Manhattan. And I would buy that. Porkature's got a farm in Aurora. I'm liking that one.
He's got a snake farm.
Got a snake farm in Aurora. I'd consider some property there right now.
Ridiculous. So you got Nebraska winning 20-7.
If we win, if we win, that's how I see the.
Do you see it being like one of those things where Nebraska either wins or they get their fannies waxed? Like, could you? A part of me feels like that's the case. Like, I think they either win or it gets away from them.
That's to me the symptom of Colorado.
Yes,
I think Colorado's got the hype train right now, and maybe if they are all they're cracked up to be, and those kids can handle it, then maybe they can put up 40 points again. But I think they're kids still, and I think that program has not been solidified. They're one game in. I think they're ripe for the picking, and to me, if everybody thinks 45, I'm thinking 20-7.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, I think if Nebraska wins, it's somewhere along. I think it's more like 17-14, 20-14 in that area. But
yeah, that might be very well.
But I think there's a version of this game where it gets out of hand, and then all of a sudden, the problem is if you get behind, you can't do it's harder to do the control the clock, run the ball. You know what I mean? Like, you get down 21-3.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden Sims has got then all of a sudden they got the gremlin situation going, and you're having to have them air it out, and it's not good.
Yeah.
So I think also a fast start and not having to play from behind is huge too. So stay safe or what?
Stay safe, my friend.
Oh man. Shouts out to Cornco's Brewery. This was good. This was good. I'm going to have to make sure I stay for the rest of the night. Okay. Shouts out to Pella. Shouts out to Shoot 360. Go to shoot360.com/Lincoln. Sign up for this I'm Interested tab. The YouTube numbers are starting to increase. That's what we want to see. We're rejuvenating it back up. We'll be back for the game recap. We're going to record on Saturday night, by the way.
So it'll be out Sunday?
So it should be out Sunday.
Okay,
so get mentally and emotionally ready. Why don't you go stay safe and sack Klatt? There's Klatt right there. Let's get Klatt.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.